In a world full of noise, two voices rise above the chaos. Ron and Bryan. They speak truth. They stir thought. They accidentally help. News, nonsense, and necessary self-care. Join the cult of Ron and Bryan, because the work is so important.
And good evening, everybody. It is Sunday. It is July 6th, deep in the middle of a hot podcaster summer.
Hot podcaster summer.
And we are broadcasting to you live from Philly adjacent, New York City adjacent, episode 361 of the Cult of Ron and Bryan. Bryan, how are you tonight, sir?
Oh, Ron, I am doing splendidly. It's Sunday evening. July has already begun. We are at the end of our traditional anniversary weekend. You know, I know that you are, you're a humble man. You don't like to brag. This was your 22nd year in a row throwing your big July 4th barbecue party. All the who's who in Elkins Park comes out.
Yes.
I know the mayor, the several councilors were in attendance, all paying homage to the man that they like to call the chancellor of Elkins Park, Ron. And I'm going to just say, once again, as always, it is just an honor for me to say that I know you.
Well, it was a good time. Thanks to you and your lady for coming down. Thanks to all of our Patreon members at the $25 level or higher who were also in attendance. And of course, our moderator, Marty Jardy, also in attendance. Just the creme de la creme, you would say, were in the backyard here enjoying their time. But let's make best use of this time, Bryan. Let's get things started with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Pleasure.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Bryan, what, dare I ask, are you drinking this week?
There's only one beer that I could drink on this lovely Sunday morning. Ron, we have, and this is not a sponsored ad I'm about to do, but I am drinking the En Casa Mexican Lager to celebrate America's 249th birthday, celebration of its birth. Excuse me. I'm drinking a Mexican lager here from the good friends over at Pinter, who you turned me onto recently. As you can see, I'm just going to dip my camera. You can see a little, I've got my Pinter right here. I will hold it up in the air because I know people want to see. This is what we are talking about. Kind of looks a little bit like the Titan Submersible.
Right. Prior to the decompression.
Prior to the decompression. Unfortunately, this does not work on a gamer console. Unfortunately, it's just filled with beer. So I have this past week was able to tap into the first beer I've ever brewed in this pinter. This is the En Casa Mexican Lager, coming in, I believe, at 4.5 ABV. Ron, I don't know how you decide to stop yourself only at 3 beers. This thing practically pours itself. This, ladies and gentlemen, is En Casa.
It's a solid lager, especially considering you're brewing it at home. You're getting like 10 glasses for $30. You're enjoying it. I know that already.
You're going to say, Bryan, what does this taste like? And I'm going to say, this is a dry and light-bodied, low-level malt flavor. It's delicately balanced with a subtle bitterness and crisp, clean aftertaste. Thirst quenching and easy drinking. This pairs perfectly with a lime and a sunny day, or inside your home office and a podcast. This here is a crushable beer that I could drink all summer long.
Hot podcaster summer.
Cheers, everybody. Look at this. One sip, and I practically drank like a third of
you're
this.
drinking it down way too fast. That's that might be signs of a problem.
Well, the problem here is, if I want another one, I'll just pour it right here. I will do a demonstration. Later in the show, I'll do a demonstration on how you actually go about pouring this beer.
All right.
I will be sloppy. We know. Fortunately, it's only a 4.5 ABV, and I'm not drinking any whiskey. No shots can be found at this table. I am going to be a respectable partner to Ron. Ron, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course you may.
What are you drinking?
So went into the fridge, got a beer that we featured here before. It is Garage Beer, the classic lime flavor. It's a small batch brewed with lime. It's only 95 calories. It's only 3 grams of carbs, and it clocks in at just 4%. Crushable beer. We put down quite a few of these this past July 4th.
Take a deep sip, not a little sip, my friend.
Take another one.
Sip. Oh, go for it. That is how crushable this beer is. It is crushable. I can attest to it. Ron, talk to me.
It's very tasty. It's got, that kind of a classic, almost lager taste. You got the lime flavor, but again, not heavy. You can drink a few of these and still, manage to operate your Blackstone, which is what I did on Friday. Had quite a few beers and still managed to cook up burgers and dogs on the grill.
Walk me through your burger process, Ron. People were asking you questions. You said, I will not divulge in person. Maybe I'll talk about it on the podcast. How do you make your burgers?
So this was, I go with an 80-20 mix. You want to have that fat content in there for the flavor. And then I just gave it a good amount of salt, white pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. Mixed it all up. When you think it's seasoned enough, Brian, here's a tip. It's not. Season it again with the salt, with the white pepper, with the onion powder, with the garlic powder. Mix that up, and then let it sit. Let those seasonings sit there in the fridge. Let it marinate, and then you cook them up on the grill. And I'm just glad people liked them. It seemed like they were very popular.
You made a comment that you could have made more burgers and they would have gone. The trick here, and one of the things that made me very happy about it was I was pleased to see you didn't smash the burgers. A lot of times people will smash the burgers on the Blackstone, get that press and twist motion.
Right.
And then at that point, you're just eating scrapes. There's no burger there.
Not everybody's a smash burger fan, and I remember your rant about smash burgers about a month or so ago. So I was like, in honor of Brian, I'm going to keep these thick with 2 C's for Brian.
Thank you. It's how I like to live. You can never have enough C's.
There you go. Next up, it's our beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
This is a grievance I've had for a bit. I cannot tell you if I've said this one before, but it is something that I encountered again during the week and also on the Amtrak train coming back from Philadelphia to New York. It's people who listen to social media videos with the sound way up so they can hear because they refuse to get headphones. Was sitting behind this woman on the train going up. Right off the bat, she was sassy. Just going to say she was sassy.
Okay.
She was sitting in one of those 4-seaters. We took the 2 seats behind her.
Okay.
Prior to the train leaving the station, it was a gentleman walked on. He happened to have been an Asian male, carrying what appeared to be a gaming computer based on the box. It was some kind of high-tech logos and whatnot. I'm going to assume it was a gaming computer.
Okay.
And he asked if he could sit next to her, which I thought was incredibly polite and respectful. And her answer was a snappy, you better be careful. I got a bad hip. which was told with attitude. It was told with attitude, Ron. I got a bad hip. Okay, so now we all have to be concerned about
Right.
your perceived disability. The train had barely left the station when apparently she decided to open up Instagram Reels and was just going one after the other. Both my lady and I made comments aloud, but she had her phone on so loud she wasn't going to hear what we were doing.
Right.
So we immediately put our headphones on. But it is just, I don't understand where this phenomena happened of people just no longer utilizing headphones when using public transportation. Janelle knows what I'm talking about. She's saying, oh, you think it's just Amtrak? I can tell you it's also on the Hudson Line light rail over
Okay.
here in Jersey. I have heard La Bamba at least a dozen times over the past 2 weeks. It must be trending on Instagram. I'm assuming it's Instagram. Could be TikTok.
Okay.
But it's just out of nowhere. You just and you immediately turn around, and then you just see somebody, no headphones on, just doing this.
That's the most aggravating thing.
When did we stop using headphones? And this isn't a beef that only I have experienced. I've
Sure.
seen videos on social media where they are referencing this type of phenomena that's happening in public transportation. And a lot of the videos say that it's particularly one or two ethnicities. I'm not saying that. I'm not pointing fingers saying there's one group or another, and there's maybe a different group that almost exclusively uses headphones because they're polite to their other fellow riders on public transportation. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
Okay,
here
good.
is that other people have said this.
Right,
I don't
right.
agree with it. I don't think you can make a broad generalization about one group of people or two, that is. But it is just the complete disrespectful attitude that people are bringing on public transportation. And also just also doing video calls,
Right.
video calls with the sound at 9 out of 10. Just, hey, what's up? Yeah, I know. I'm on this train. Yeah, that's right. Going to be on for another hour. And you hear both sides. Now, keep in mind, and this has already been pointed out to me, if we wanted a quiet car, we should have gotten onto the quiet car on the Amtrak train. But not all public transportation accepts quiet cars.
That's very true.
There's no quiet cars on subways or trains or buses or whatnot. So my beef is people who do not use headphones when listening to their phone on public transportation.
But why should you need to be on a quiet car per se? Why, to your point, why can't people just be considerate of other people anymore?
I don't know. I really don't know. Because if you go back 10 years, everybody had headphones on. And
Right.
I'm actually wondering, now that I'm talking this aloud, I wonder if this has anything to do with the modern phones not coming out with headphones. Remember when you used to get
Maybe.
an iPhone, they would
You get a
automatically
preset,
have,
yeah.
they weren't great headphones, but they
Right.
came with something. Then obviously they started pushing everybody to the wireless headphones and wanting you to go out and buy your own. I wonder if that has anything to do with it, because now seems to be so commonplace for people to be sitting there with their phone on, almost on max volume, as if the entire car needs to hear it. And I'm going to tell you something. Eventually, I'm going to sit down next to one of these people and put Slayer hell away full volume and just act like I'm enjoying myself. It's going to be an incident. All I need is somebody to just allow me to have a little bit of alcohol in my system, and I will do it to somebody.
Well, like Billy said, maybe you should bring a 1980s style boombox on the train. I assume that's why you've been going to the gym, working out, so you can carry that without risk of a broken bone. But
look at these.
Consideration for others gone out the window.
These guns are like EBs. These guns
are they?
EBs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. 45 minutes on the elliptical today, Ron. 45 minutes. Ended at a level 14. Ron, what's bothering you this week?
So what's bothering me this week? I mean, I guess it's kind of a minor beef compared to yours. But you know me, I like getting some recipes off of the Facebook, off of the TikTok, bringing those to life. So my beef is with people who would just put bad recipes online. I saw this recipe on Facebook. It was for key lime vodka balls. I was like, oh, this will be a fun little intoxicating dessert to serve at July 4th. So it was, it was vodka, it was condensed milk, it was lime juice, it was powdered sugar, and you're supposed to be able to put it into your fridge and solidify it so you could roll it into balls, dip it in graham cracker crumbs, get really the whole key lime thing. But apparently so much vodka in it that this damn thing wouldn't set up. So then I'm like, maybe I can try and make like an ice cream out of it. So I put like 2 full containers of Cool Whip in there and put it in the freezer. 2 days later, still had not solidified. It was just this liquid mush. And it tasted all right, but it tasted like key lime pie that you had slopped up with a bottle of vodka over the top of it. Listen, you can put disinformation about politics, health, and whatnot. But don't fuck around with these online recipes, people. There needs to be a level of responsibility when you're posting recipes on social media. Just my 2 cents, Brian.
I think you're right on this.
Thank you. I appreciate.
However, I would say I appreciate the pure arrogance that you carry yourself with. That instead of saying maybe I messed up the recipe somehow, your whole approach to this is that this was a bad recipe that somebody put online. Because God forbid, there's no doubt in your mind that you put too much vodka in, that you somehow messed up.
So here's the thing: I will say, and granted, I'm going to answer that allegation. So I went back. I had the Facebook post, saved in this app on my phone. I went back and I started reading the comments. And had I read the comments first, all of the comments were like, "There's way too much vodka in this. It'll never set up with that amount of alcohol." So it clearly was an issue of the vodka level. And I even went to Chat GPT and I was like, this is the recipe I just tried. How can I save this recipe? Even Chat GPT was like, there's way too much vodka in there. Like, there should only be like a half cup. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, okay, Chat GPT. Yes, the cool whip.
The cool
whip. Will Clinton.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's a pisser.
It was aggravating.
How do you find recipes online, if I may ask?
So,
Ron did not
do the work. Joe is 100% right in that. I guess I'm just on recipe. That's in my algorithm. Like, recipes pop up in my Facebook feed. They pop up in my TikTok algorithm. So I actually have an app called Resime that I can send them to, and it saves it and extracts the recipe so I can actually read it versus having to keep going through the video like 500 times.
Really? Interesting. Sounds like you're doing the work, Ron.
Sometimes I'm doing the work, but in this case, I did not do as much of the work as I should have done, and I apologize. And I'll do better.
But can I tell you about a recipe that you did follow that came out splendidly?
Sure.
That was your boozy milkshakes.
Oh, that was a killer, if you will. We were doing, we were watching Jaws at the end of the party, so we did these themed milkshakes. They were boozy milkshakes. You rimmed the glass with a little strawberry sauce, and then it was vodka, milk, and ice cream blended together. Pour it in there, a little whipped cream, and then a gummy shark and some gummy lifesavers on there.
They were so popular. I'm going to say I may actually try and ask you for the recipe because I would have liked one of those.
It was very tasty, so I'm glad you enjoyed them. Joe, on fire today. I do love the rim. Can't escape that.
I'd also like to point out, Ron, you have not only do you enjoy the rim, you also love a good neckline. Ladies and gentlemen, please, for the next 5 seconds of this podcast, please look away from this just chicken neck on this half of the screen. Look over onto the left side.
Very respectable neckline today.
Look at that neckline, Ron. High and tight, protecting the jugular. I'm jealous. I'm absolutely jealous of your neckline on that shirt right now.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm showing it off like a 2-cent whore on this side.
You're showing off Adam's apple for days, my friend.
Disgusting.
All right, let's get on with our stories of the week. The stories we want to make sure do not get lost in the shuffle. Bryan, what is your story of the week this week?
Ron, my story of the week takes us to Massachusetts. Now, on my way over to your house this past Friday, I was speaking to my lady as we were on our way down, and she said she said I need to warn you. I need to stop you from doing something that I know you're likely to do. And I was just like, what? She goes, listen, there is a phenomena amongst the American people. Don't tell the cook how to cook your steak. So if Ron's making burgers or steak or whatnot on his Blackstone, because we knew you were going to break out the Blackstone at some point, it's become your entire personality. But my lady said to me, whatever you do, just eat whatever he puts in front of you. We don't want to get into an argument over how to cook meat. Unfortunately, this advice was not shared amongst all Americans prior to this July 4th weekend. My story takes us to Massachusetts. Do you have a photo of Andrew Horseman that you can put up?
There we go.
Okay. Just for those who are watching the video and are a little confused right now, Andrew Horseman is not the individual in the black suit with the red tie. Andrew Horseman is the man with the unkempt beard, possibly unwashed hair, and 3X gray t-shirt. Now, you may ask yourself, what did Andrew Horseman do? Unfortunately, it appears that he stabbed his mother's boyfriend 17 times before dousing him in lighter fluid after an argument over steaks took place. Horseman, 41, seemingly snapped during the fight over steaks with his mom's long-term partner, 66-year-old Paul Pomerleau, and went into a bloody rage at the older man's home. And this is where you just have to get, very concerned. Horseman stalked over to Pomerleau, proceeded to stab him these 17 times, before he poured a gallon of lighter fluid on Pomerleau's body. Unfortunately, and this is where, if you're going to be a criminal, be a good one. Horseman failed to set Pomerleau on fire. Now, how bad is that lighter fluid that you're going to pour a gallon of it on someone and not be able to light them on fire?
It's not Kingsford, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. Ron, I would not ask you to put a photo of Paul Pomerleau up on the screen, because the photo that the New York Post uses in this story, I'm not sure he and this lady in the photo would fit. So therefore, do not show the photo. Unfortunately, and this is where you truly have to understand the brilliance of the New York Post copy editors, ladies and gentlemen. This is a genuine statement in this story about a man stabbing another man over steak. Quote unquote, the men had prior beef before the deadly stabbing. I mean, you can't get better than that. Kudos to the New York Post copy editors. Beef. Yeah, you got, if you think you're going to argue over steak, you just got to let it go. Whether the guy says it's overcooked, sorry, let me fire you up another one. The guy says it's undercooked, let me refire that. But what you don't do, stab somebody 17 times. It's always dangerous work, people.
Yep. Got to be careful. You did not stab me this weekend, so I'm thankful of that.
I would never stab you. I'm more likely to try to insert something else inside of your body, something fleshy and 4.5 inches. Ron, let me ask you a question. What's your story of the week?
So Bryan, we were chatting because I didn't really go all out with fireworks this year. Just got some sparklers. Didn't do the sparkler fountains like we've done in the past. And you were like, it was weird because you said it unprovoked. You're like, man, I hope a kid dies from fireworks today. And I was like, well, that seems a little abrupt, but here's your burger. Enjoy your dinner. But apparently your wish came true, Bryan, because out in Buena Park, California, an 8-year-old girl was killed during an illegal July 4th fireworks display in a local neighborhood. Her name was Jasmine Nguyen of Anaheim. Apparently, there was a large quantity of fireworks detonated Apparently, one of the fireworks that was supposed to go up in the air tipped over, fired into the stack of illegal fireworks that were ready to be lit off, causing a huge explosion, which caused her to be struck multiple times, causing fatal injuries. Not great. They always say, like, don't screw around with illegal fireworks, and this family learned the hard way with their daughter getting killed by them.
How do you think you behave the year after when you when everybody starts talking about their fireworks displays?
I think you say, you know what? Here are the ashes of my dead daughter. Maybe you'll think about fireworks.
Wow. Wow, Ron. Wow. Now, you don't think that they're going to take those ashes, mix them with a little gunpowder, a little red powder, so that they could light her off as a bottle rocket, maybe an M80 that goes up into the sky. So they go, there's little Ashley. She's up in the air, bright like a star.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I do know how I would now like my remains to be scattered after I pass away. If you can see to that, make sure it happens.
I believe that I would have to struggle with your missus. I believe she will. Your wife comes across like the kind of woman that would put them in an urn on the mantle.
I think she would put them in a small box, and she would set them amongst all of the ashes of our other dogs that sit on the windowsill of our bedroom. Dogs and cats, previous dogs and cats. So I'll probably be added to that collection.
They're in the bedroom?
Yes, they are.
Why in the bedroom, if I may ask?
I mean, that's where they're at. We have a deep windowsill, and we've got 8 of them there.
Really?
Yeah.
Question is, Ron, would it be one of the larger boxes on that mantle, or would your ashes be in one of the smaller ones?
I think my box would be smaller than like Paisley, for example. I think that the size of the box is in relation to the amount of love that she had. So I think a little bigger than some of the dogs, a little smaller than her animals, you know. The ashes of the frogs. Listen, I don't know anything about any frogs or any ashes of any frogs.
How dare you? I will say this. As the sun started to depart, the night sky filled with stars, and the evening started to take over. I could not be saddened, or could not be sadder, excuse me, with just how quiet your backyard was. Jaws is a movie that from a volume perspective, there are peaks and valleys. There's peaks and valleys. So when, during those dramatic scenes when there really wasn't a lot of noise, I could not be struck by how few love calls of frogs that I heard coming from your backyard, which used to be filled with the carolings of multiple breeds. You had bullfrogs, tadpoles, hermits.
Hermits? Is that a breed?
I believe so. I needed a third one. Come on, work with me.
I think what you'll find, Brian, is a lot of these frogs and toads July 4th weekend will go down the shore. So I think that's probably why you didn't really hear them. They were in Jersey.
Understood.
Yes.
Lies.
Speaking of children dying, 32 children missing from a Camp Willow in Texas. At least 80 dead due to catastrophic flash flooding there in the state, with more rain apparently to come this weekend. 28 children are missing from Camp Mystic. I think they have confirmed at least 4 dead, but that number is going to continue to go up. People looking for their children, their parents, families disrupted, lives destroyed from this flooding in Texas. And, you hate to make this kind of thing political, but everyone seems to be pointing out how the Trump administration is now limiting the radar inputs for the NOAA. Apparently, the NOAA, who tracks weather across the nation, used to have access to certain Department of Defense radar and broadcasts and things, and they don't have that anymore. So apparently, people are saying, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, that this is a result of the NOAA not having the proper information needed to do their job and protect people from the intense storms that are really commonplace in this day and time.
Now, you're going to say that you hate to make it political, Ron, but already it is political on both sides. Now, you just spouted the liberal, the woke DEI spin on this story. Well, I do not have the links up right now for me to read them verbatim. But earlier today, I saw multiple tweets from people who have the American flag in their username and refer to themselves as patriots and protectors of freedom, claiming that there must have been some Biden administration holdovers in the NOAA that intentionally failed to send out the warnings to the Texas residents because they were looking to embarrass President Trump. It's already been politicized. There's already finger pointing. And I think I would like to point out this took place how many days ago? About 3 days ago?
I believe so, yes. 2 days ago, I believe.
Donald Trump has not gone down to Texas to go visit the families. As much as he says he is a man of the people, he's still in Washington, D.C., hanging out. Not sure what he's doing. I imagine he played golf today. Did not rush down to Texas to go visit his people to let them know the national government's going to do everything they can. By the way, also, irony indeed, only because I do love a good laugh at people pretending to be victims. But Governor Abbott, who hardcore Republican,
Yes.
and you're allowed to be. I'm not saying you have to be one or the other. But was the right wing calls for federal government funding to help the state in its time of emergency. The calls for FEMA support to Texas right now, despite the slashing of the FEMA budget that just is about to go into effect now that we have passed the big, beautiful bill Donald Trump's domestic agenda. FEMA's budget was just slashed. There is no money to go help these states anymore. So if you have a weather event, you're basically fucked. But that's what the Republicans wanted. Yet, when they do have a weather emergency, they do expect the federal government to come rushing to their aid. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, because I'm sure it's not going to be politicized.
Well, and, I think he was very, very busy, thumping his chest over the passing of that bill. What is interesting is I'm also seeing reports from Republican senators and representatives in states that have Democratic governors asking the governor to try and protect their state's Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, because they know what is coming now that this bill is passed. People will be hungry, people will be sick and not be able to be cared for. While you don't want to see people die, I have very little sympathy for the state of Texas.
I have no sympathy for the state of Texas, let alone little sympathy. Also, let's just be brutally honest from a political perspective, and now I will be political if you don't mind. These kids were probably going to grow up and vote Republican presidential elections.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things, worst case scenario, they were going to be traditional wives, and you and I, we both have trad wife on our TikTok algorithms. That's no proper way for a young lady to grow up. Traditional wife is not the, so if you're, growing up in some religious studies in the heart of Texas already when you're a young child, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Oh God, did I just say that? I take that back.
You went a little low.
That wasn't funny. No, that wasn't funny.
Low, but that's all right.
No. Well, I should have ended just by making a comment that they were probably going to be Republican voters, and just
What's
ended it
amazing
there.
to me
Went
about
too
a state
far.
like Texas, let's look at Texas, for example. I mean, they've had the flooding, they've had
Sure.
heat wave issues, they've had power grid issues. Remember during the winter when nobody had power and Ted
course.
Cruz hopped on a plane with his family and
Of
went to
course.
Cancun?
Of course.
And they still fucking reelect these people who could
Sure.
give two shits about their way of life.
Correct. They vote because it feels good the way they vote. They do not care what happens after the fact. But not only that, but speaking of Ted Cruz, just, what I love about the man is he never gives up an opportunity to pump up the state of Israel. You know how it's traditional on July 4th for politicians to put out some type of tweet about, happy birthday, America, so proud to be a member of this great country on its 240th. Ted Cruz literally sent out a tweet that said, "Happy birthday, America. I'll never forget when I was 5 years old and the Israeli Defense League sent commandos into, I believe it was Uganda, and took out the airport of Entebbe, I believe it was, and killed all those commandos in the hostage kidnapping that had been taking place at the airport." Literally, that was his tweet. Said nothing about America, but just wanted to talk about how brave it was of Israel to go into Entebbe. The man is just a shill for Israel. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved.
Don't take sides.
The man he doesn't pretend to care about America anymore.
One thing I will say, while we have both been very disappointed in the performance of our New York Yankees lately, New York Yankees fans were on point the other night when Ted Cruz happened to be at Yankee Stadium and people were heckling him and yelling at him like, "Trump called your wife ugly and you support him." You stupid
it was beautiful.
son of a bitch.
And in the political climate we have today, he just pretended like he didn't hear it, and then just like looked up and waved to, like, as if there were some people that were waving to him. There's no shame in politics anymore.
No, there is not.
Brian,
no shame whatsoever. We have often talked about people that steal our podcast ideas. Now we've got somebody over in England trying to steal our cult idea. Apparently, according to Islamic legend, messianic figure known as the Mahdi will appear before Judgment Day to vanish injustice and tyranny. Abdullah Hashem, an American Egyptian, is now running what can be described as a quasi-Islamic doomsday cult based out of a former orphanage in the north of England. He claims to be that Mahdi and also the new Pope, which, I mean, I thought we already had a new Pope, but this gentleman is saying he is the new Pope. In their in-house propaganda pieces, it says, quote, "We are looking for people who are willing." Oh, I messed up however that was supposed to be said. He thinks he's a Messiah. All right. Messianic, Masonry, I don't know. But he's looking for people who are willing to sell their homes and come and be amongst the community and to follow me and to not waver or want to leave once they've come. I feel this is where we've gone wrong, Brian. We have yet to ask our followers. We've asked them to subscribe to the Patreon, obviously.
Sure.
But maybe we should be telling them, sell your home, sell your car, use that money for the Patreon and follow us and only us.
But Ron, are you actually looking to invite these people into your compound? I mean, it's not just a house anymore. Now it's more of a compound since you cleaned out the garage. So is it, obviously you have so much room for people to sleep there. You get you bunk beds and whatnot. But are you looking for people to move into your compound, or is this more of a stay at a distance?
I mean, I think the first thing is, if enough people subscribe to the Patreon, we can buy some land to put the Ron and Brian school, or the Ron and Brian bunkers, the Ron and Brian businesses. And then, then people can come. And when they get there, they shouldn't leave.
Who will be doing the cooking while you asks?
I mean, I'll train people I trust to do the cooking.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, yeah, but who's going to be doing the dishes?
I mean, that's a bigger question. I mean,
All right.
you're
Okay.
pretty good. You're good at the dishes. I
Actually,
watched you handle some dishes.
I find doing dishes very relaxing. Like you just
Cathartic, isn't it?
you turn your brain off, you just daydream, you go somewhere else, and it's just like one dish clean into the dishwasher. One, and then you just go one at a time, one at a time. I used to hate doing the dishes. I'm actually embarrassed in my 30s. I remember I used to just wash dishes when I would literally let the sink fill up with dirty dishes and I
Oh.
would clean them as I needed them. And I look back on it, it was just horrifying that I let that happen. Now I look on it, I'm like, no, every night, like the sink needs to be emptied. Yeah, it's the way to do it. I very much enjoy doing.
Quick question about the
Yeah.
dishwasher. Do you believe that there is an optimal way to load a dishwasher?
Well, I think what you want to do is you want to maximize the number of dishes you can put in the dishwasher. I do
Exactly.
believe that there are specific zones. Like I think, I think all plates have to go into the bottom layer of the dishwasher. Even the small plates like a saucer, you could put it on top. Why take the
No.
risk? The saucer goes at the bottom. So there is technically you do want to maximize it. While I do believe to a certain extent that you want to put as much as you can in the dishwasher, there's no reason to run a dishwasher that's only maybe a 3/4 full while there's still dishes in the sink. You know, I'm not saying there's other people that do that. I've heard stories. I've heard stories that some people just like to sit there and go, "Oh, okay, I'll just run it now." Um,
You want to conserve water and electricity, Brian, and I think we're on the same page here.
You just want to be as efficient as possible. I will admit that my lady has much better Tetrising skills than I do. So there are times where I will get frustrated and just kind of throw my hands up in the air and say, can you please do something here? Because I can't get all this to fit. And she'll just, and then next thing you know, everything's fitting and then some. No, she's much better at that than I am. But I do believe you want to pack that dishwasher as much as possible.
You do, without a doubt. Let's go to Idaho, Brian. A follow-up story. We had covered the murders there, the 5 college students that were murdered when this happened back in November of 2022. Now, Bryan Kohberger has pled guilty to be able to avoid the death penalty and will serve 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. The prosecutor read out the step-by-step process of the killings. Apparently, he killed best friends Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves initially, and then walked through the house, killing the other 3 people in the house. Families are split on this, Brian. What's your thought on having to go through a trial, having to hear all this just for the possibility of the death penalty? Or do you feel better knowing that this person is going to be locked up for the rest of his natural born life?
I don't know that in a case like this, I really, I think you got to leave it up to the families. I think you got to run it by the families. I think you need to talk to them. You need to explain to them the pros and cons of allowing the defendant to go to a plea deal. I don't know. I cannot even imagine putting myself into the shoes of a parent of a 19-year-old girl that was literally hacked to death with a hunting knife in her sleep. I don't know that level of rage. I don't know. Do I want this person to suffer in prison for the rest? I mean, he's in his 30s, he's early 30s. This guy,
right,
has a lot of years to be raped in prison. And at the same time, I'm not sure that that going through a trial where you have to hear such gory details is going to is going to be a plus to society in any way. It's a sad situation, no matter how you approach this.
I mean, do you think it's also if you think about it from a logistics standpoint, it does save the state a lot of money. It saves the state a lot of resources. So are the citizens of Idaho better served by, not stretching this out, You look at like the Karen Reed trial up in Massachusetts,
Sure.
which, she was acquitted after a second trial, and, to be fair, the cops probably killed that guy.
Of course.
But they spent millions of dollars for the first trial and the second trial. And, nothing happened because of it. Is it worth spending a lot of money on these high profile trials, especially if the guy's willing to plead guilty and take that life sentence, because he gets found guilty, he gets sentenced to death row. How many appeals is he then going to go through? I mean, at the end of the day, he'll probably be in prison for as long as he would have been if he was put on death row.
I know from a practical perspective, you're asking really good questions. But the reality is, I don't know that you can work in finances while considering justice. And I do believe, as corny as this sounds, that when you're speaking about something as inherently prioritizing as justice, that the last thing that should be taken into account is, ooh, this is going to cost the state a lot of money. I don't know. I don't have a good answer.
Isn't that what we do as a country? We've literally put a price tag on human life in this country, whether it's medicine, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, hunger. There is a price out there that, people are obviously willing to pay or not pay for people to live.
Call me optimistic, Ron. I don't believe that I want to be one of those people that brings into account the cost of a trial. I mean, Diddy just got off this week on that guy's made a career out of getting off.
And he was found out guilty.
Oh, bad one. But by the way, getting back to the Bryan Kohberger guy, what was his name?
Yeah, Bryan Kohberger.
I have a kid who works in my office that looks exactly like him. He's interning for the summer. I'm gonna get a picture for you, Ron. I will send it to you. He's an intern. I think he's like 21. Working in our office. Looks exactly like him. So he's been in our office for about a month now. And I have said to about a half dozen people every time he's walked by, I'm like, that guy looks like somebody that would show up to a co-ed's house and stab 4 people in their sleep. And most people get the reference. Not everyone does. I'm not going to say that everybody has my style of humor in the workplace, but I was talking to him, I think either Thursday or Friday, and I let slip that he looked like the guy because we were talking, and he made a comment, and I was just like, I have a question. Would you plead guilty to a capital murder offense if the evidence was clear that you had killed 4 co-eds? And this one young lady that was standing near him just burst out laughing. I'm going to get a photo. You just reminded me. I owe you a photo of this kid.
Right.
I will get it, and I'm going to send it over to you.
Now,
which is probably inappropriate.
Just to remind everybody, you are in human resources, correct?
For the past 47 minutes and the next 23, no. By the way, I'm about to have another beer. Do you want to see how easy it is?
Is this your third you're about to pour?
Look at these sexy legs. Oh my fucking God. I would fuck me. I would fuck me so good. You just hold the glass at a 45-degree angle. You come down full steam. And the beer just flows out
like nectar.
Give it, because it does have the one downside, and you and I were talking about this before the show, is that when you let go of the tap and you go to close it to cut off the stream of the beer, it does continue to emit several drops of liquid. So you've got to stay there.
You got to give it a little shake. Get the last few drops out.
As a man in my 50s, Ron, I'm quite familiar with that sensation.
But is that your third beer?
Well, I'm not pouring full beers here. This isn't a full beer. This is what, like 2/3 of one?
I mean, I would call that 3/4.
This is Ron. You're drinking out of a can. There is a mental. See, this is where the pinter people get you. Is there's a mental block of like, oh, do I really feel like opening another beer? Like, I only got a 6-pack of that.
Right.
No, this is just like, oh, I'm just gonna pour myself a little. These things are dangerous. I already am looking forward to brewing my next beer.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next story out in California, where a 7-Eleven employee was left brain dead after her manager sat on top of her during a senseless on-the-job attack. She died this past Wednesday after she was taken off life support. This is a photo of Jessica McLaughlin, age 24. She was working at an LA 7-Eleven on June 24th when her unidentified female manager, who remains at large, has not been arrested yet, violently and senselessly attacked her after the pair got into an argument shortly after 2 p.m. I'm going to read this line because it's one of the reasons that I love the New York Post so much. It says, during the attack, the deranged big gulp slinger pulled McLaughlin's hair and sat down on her employee's upper body with her full weight, preventing her from breathing. In a GoFundMe, the victim's brother said she held her down, sat on top of her, and didn't let her breathe. Concerned co-workers tried to pry the woman off of McLaughlin, but became targets themselves when they attempted to revive McLaughlin. The manager supposedly ran into the 7-Eleven back office and tried to erase security footage, and then ran off after that.
Ooh,
that's a little crazy.
I think this is why you don't sit on your coworkers, Ron. I know, we were chatting yesterday. You were telling me about some of the people you work with, and you were like, listen, Bryan, sometimes I just want to throw them on the ground and just sit on them and apply all my weight onto their head. And I'm like, Ron, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Take a photo of them, share it with your friends, but do not sit on your coworkers because you could kill them.
Good to know, Bryan. We're going to go back down to Texas. Apparently not a good week to be a kid in Texas, where a girl at age 9 died after her mom left her in a car in nearly 100-degree temperatures to work an 8-hour shift. The 36-year-old mother alerted police to the horrifying death after returning to her Toyota Camry, where she had left the girl in the back seat as she worked in suburban Houston. She left the girl with water and the windows cracked, but not parked in the shade, despite temperatures soaring to 97 degrees. The mother was detained, but released as investigators await autopsy results. The sheriff's office says it is continuing to investigate before any charges are filed.
Gee, listen, you're not a parent. You do not have children, but you have been a parent to many fur babies over the history of your marriage, Ron. At any point, have you been so careless to just kind of forget that you have somebody in the back seat, or sitting there saying, "Oh, I'll just crack the window a little bit; they'll be fine"? Has it ever even dawned upon you that it would be okay, in this temperature, to just leave your kid in the back seat of your car?
No. I mean, that's just you think that should be a given, and yet it is not.
I just feel that, if this is what's happening to the children now, and you can tell me I'm an evil person for even thinking or saying it, but it's just like, you know what? Maybe in some way this kid was just saved from years of other horrible abuse at the hands of this person that they called their parent.
I mean, it's you have to wonder what, if they were comfortable leaving their child in a hot car, what else, possibly had they done to that child?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm with you.
It's just the carelessness of it. It's just terrible. Just terrible.
Speaking of passing away, Bryan, we lost some big names in sports and entertainment this past week. We'll run down just a few of them. This was a sad story. Liverpool soccer star Diogo Jota, age 28, passing away alongside his brother in a car crash just days after his wedding. I know we have cursed out Liverpool from time to time as we have wagered on them throughout the season, but this is sad. They were found dead after his Lamborghini, his tire appear to have burst as they were trying to pass another vehicle. It crashed and then burst into flames in northwestern Spain just after midnight, middle of last week.
Ron, now is Barcelona considered northwestern Spain?
What part of that? What part
Barcelona?
Of Spain? Oh, I'm not sure.
Barcelona.
I'm not quite sure.
I'm trying to understand. Maybe is it possible that I traveled some of those roads that that this Liverpool player was playing? Listen, just a tragic loss. Anytime he had just recently gotten married to his partner. He shared 2 children with her. Was not a starter on Liverpool, but that doesn't mean we didn't care about him.
Right.
He had several goals coming in as substitutes, and had just not that long ago, a little bit over a month ago, held the English Premier League championship up in the air after Liverpool won the 24-25 season.
All right. Next up, passing away at the age of 90, televangelist Jimmy Swaggart, one of the first preachers to take his ministry to a massive TV audience, passing away in Louisiana following a 2-week hospitalization. You were back in the day a big fan of the Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. What did you like about this man so much?
Well, I mean, let's listen. He was he brought God to the television. A lot of people look to Jerry Falwell as being the TV preacher who really brought God to the boob tube. However, Jimmy Swaggart really brought fire and brimstone in a way that nobody else had. He really was selling you this concept of you need to find Jesus, you need to do the work. Otherwise, you are going to hell. And he never steered away from going into very dramatic renditions of how terrible hell is.
And yet, a man of failings of his own. His I guess what would you say? His reputation took quite a hit. After he was,
I have sinned. I have sinned, my Lord.
After he was photographed leaving a Louisiana motel after spending some time with a prostitute, he was eventually defrocked by the Assemblies of God, survived by his wife, numerous children and grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren. Can't say we'll miss Reverend Swaggart all that much.
I won't miss him at all. Not a problem with him dying off. The world's a better place.
Now, this one, I got to say, this one hurt. Michael Madsen, actor extraordinaire, passing away at the age of 67. I mean, reading through his IMDb, Brian, an amazing film career. I mean, Donnie Brasco, Kill Bill, Hateful Eight.
Yes,
many more than I'm forgetting. Yeah,
I mean, everybody's talking about Reservoir. Everybody immediately goes to the Reservoir reference, which I think is very hacky nowadays, to just automatically make the Reservoir reference. It's a hack move. Unfortunately, like to me, Hateful Eight, so good in where I believe he played Joe Black was the name of his character. I love the Hateful Eight. That's one of my favorite movies. Was great in Kill Bill where he played Marty Vega. I don't remember the character's first name, but he was supposed to be Vincent Vega's brother, character John Travolta from Pulp Fiction. Right. So good in Kill Bill. So good in Hateful Eight. Why do I feel like he was in Heat, but I know he wasn't?
I don't. But listen to some of these.
He wasn't in Heat, but I have a feel. Yeah, keep going.
War Games, The Natural, The Killing Time, The End of Innocence, The Doors, Thelma and Louise. Reservoir Dogs, Fatal Instinct, Free Willy. I mean, come on now. What else?
Was he the whale?
Yes. Free Willy 2, Mulholland Falls, Donnie Brasco.
That was a good one.
I mean, again, a huge star. And I remember seeing a video the other day talking about that iconic scene in Reservoir Dogs where he cuts off the cop's ear while dancing to Stealer Wheels. And, how he talked about how, Quentin Tarantino just had him improvise that entire thing.
Yeah. And
Sin City,
menacing.
there's another one.
So, Sin City, he was very good in.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy put together a great career, and not only that, I mean, the substance abuse that he had to he unnecessarily put himself through.
Right.
You think about like what he might have been had he not had those stretches of time where he was almost unemployable because of the battles that he was going through. But I will say this: Donnie Brasco. When he played Sonny Black or Sonny Red. I think he was Sonny Black. So good. So good. This guy was a great actor. Does it say what he passed away from?
I don't know that it's been released just yet what he died of. I mean, they're saying it was natural causes. I would imagine, the years of drug abuse take a toll on your body, on your heart. I would not be surprised if that's, what did it.
I hope he didn't suffer. Is all I can say. With the amount of enjoyment that he put out there in the world through his acting, I hope he did not suffer in the end.
Suffering, Brian, the people of Philadelphia suffering from trash piling up on their streets. You saw a little bit of it this weekend. How was when your train arrived at 30th Street Station? What was the smell like in downtown Philadelphia?
I'm gonna, listen. There's no beating around the bush here, Ron. The stories of the Department of Sanitation strike going on in Philadelphia, residents being told that they should be doing is in the middle of a July heat wave, they should be putting their garbage in bags into their car and driving it to drop off stations. Let's be brutally honest, Ron. It didn't really smell much worse than Philadelphia normally does.
Okay.
It normally does have a waft of just rancid sewage garbage smell. It was not much worse than it normally is.
Okay. Also, not just the sanitation workers, Brian, it's all of District Council 33, but the biggest portion of that obviously is the sanitation workers. I believe courts did order the 911 employees and the water department workers to go back, but sanitation workers still on strike. Also, LL Cool J was supposed to headline the Wawa Welcome America concert on the Ben Franklin Parkway on July 4th, canceling the day before, stating that he would not cross any picket lines to perform a show. He was followed by co-headliner Jasmine Sullivan, who also canceled.
Little did we know that LL Cool J, he's a union man. He will. He is in solidarity, and I hope that that people will realize that he's not just all talk. He is a man of action. Why did we not go to this Philadelphia festival?
Because it was on July 4th, and I was cooking burgers for you in my backyard, you ungrateful son of a bitch.
Maybe next year, the lady and I will come down. Lady, baby, next year. Screw Ron's house. Let's go to the what is it called again?
It's the Wawa Welcome America Festival.
Wawa Welcome America Festival 2027 or whatever.
2026. Don't forget, next year will be the 250th birthday of our great nation.
Listen, I know you're going to be taking Blue Chew starting tomorrow because you want to be nice and hard for the UFC event that Donald Trump has already announced will be taking place on the White House lawn. We are going to be turning over our the home of the president over to UFC fights.
I mean, it just makes sense at this point. We have become idiocracy.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Billy asking, do they serve hoagies there? There's actually an entire hoagie day as part of the 2-week festival leading up to July 4th. Yeah, Wawa gives away free hoagies downtown on Hoagie Day.
I wish we don't get Wawas in New York, and I'm not sure that we deserve them. Because there's no way that we would get a good quality sandwich here in New York City. made by somebody working at a gas station. Like when you think about it, outside of residents who eat at Sheetz and Wawa's in the Northeast, the very concept that you could get a quality deli sandwich at a gas station just does not compute to my New York ears, even though you could say I'm in New Jersey.
Here's the difference. We don't have good bodegas down here. The fact that you have good bodegas in New York City eliminates the need for a Wawa or a Sheetz, in my opinion.
This is true. This is true. You're absolutely correct on it. Maybe I'll get a
you can't get it the Aki way.
Disgusting. Isn't it funny? You like just in true American fashion, and I think everybody knows the reference here, is the that one bodega in Brooklyn that at the peak of the pandemic was just literally making like as ludicrous sandwiches as you could make. You know, at a bodega. So it was you know, like 2 waffles with a half a pound of bacon, a Pop-Tart, and a Jamaican beef patty.
Always with the Jamaican beef patty.
Always
I got 2 honey buns here. I'd like you to take some eggs, this bag of Takis, and the bodega cat next door, and I'd like you to serve it up the Aki way. Sure.
Anyway, but when he first came out, we all loved him. I remember the number of times you and I would just share videos of this guy making sandwich. And then after a while, it just became, this is disgusting. Like they're making Fruit Loops like pancakes where he's mixing like a whole thing of Fruit Loops into the bat, like, and then just putting so much syrup. Like none of this was healthy to eat. Mozzarella sticks was on everything he would make.
Yeah.
It became disgusting because everybody had to just outdo everything.
And
now
you end up with this sandwich that no human jaw could possibly take a bite of.
No, but don't forget the Bev.
Never, never, never.
I never went there.
Good. I'm proud that you haven't. All right, folks. Well, we have often mentioned how important it is for you to check out our Patreon. If you are not already a member, go to thecultofronandbrian.com. Click in the upper right-hand corner, and you can become a member you can sign up for free. Let's not neglect saying that. But for $5, you get access to the audio of our After Dark, which starts in about 24 minutes. For $10 a month or more, you get live every Sunday night at 9:30, Ron and Brian After Dark. The last Sunday of the month, we have all of our Patreon subscribers on, and you take on either Brian or I in a trivia contest. Brian beaten yet again this past Sunday. By William Esquire. We had a 15-question quiz on the most infamous Bryans in history. And strangely, you were not familiar with a lot of those Bryans, Brian.
Ooh, this was a rough one. And I'm going to say, I'm already telling you right off the bat. We used to do this game on using a shared Google sheet where everybody would enter their scores. Ron got this bullshit idea of using this app on your phone where a score is generated, whether based on the combination of your accurate giving the right answer, but also how fast you turn that right answer around. So not only do I have to get the answer right, but now I also have to do it quickly. Those two things make me very nervous and cause me to pick wrong answers quickly. I'm coming in with, we're using Kahoot next time, or Kaput, whatever it's called. We're using this app, and you're going to get a taste of your own medicine. So if you have not signed up for our Patreon already, people, what are you waiting for? As little as $5 a month, you get access to the audio quality product that we put out there. However, for only $5 more, at $10, you get access to our live stream. You can come on the show at the end of the month for a pajama party. At the $25 silver level, you get invitations to Ron's house. You get invitations to my wedding. I mean, what more can you do? I'm literally opening the floor.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Brian, anything additional before we wrap up episode 361?
I can't think of a damn thing. What a great this hour just flew by.
It was a good time. So thank you all for joining us. Listeners, we'll be back next Sunday after dark. Patreon folks, we will see you in 20 minutes.
Thank you for joining us for the latest episode of The Cult of Ron and Bryan. A non-tax deductible contribution can be made by subscribing to our Patreon. Visit cultofronandbryan.com and click on Become a Patron. We'll see you again next week.